This episode of Another Happy Pod is going to contain spoilers. If you've not experienced the content yourself, please go ahead and do so before coming back and listening to the boys ramble on about it. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us to the second episode of Another Happy Pod, the podcast where we try and talk about the positive things in movies instead of just having a shit pick all over some of the movies. We're joined by Nathan. Say hello, Nathan.
We're joined by Nathan, are we? Hello.
We are joined by Nathan.
We are. We're also joined by Lawrence. Hello, Lawrence.
Hello, Nathan. Thank you for such a well-received first episode. We've hit number 1 on Spotify and iTunes, so that's an incredible feat.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. We're totally not recording this immediately after the first one.
No,
so,
but the first one's immediately, despite not being edited or posted, it's blown up.
It's huge.
We've now gone global, so
it's crazy. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to sponsor us, that'd be great.
Patreon.com/ what's the name of it? Another Happy Pod. There we go.
That's a glowing endorsement right there. One of the co-creators can't remember the name of the podcast that he's hosting currently. Right, today we're going to be talking about The World's End, the third installment in the Corneto trilogy.
The third and final. It's a weird choice to go with the last installment for the first one we do, but hey, that's what you get.
Me and Nathan, planning this podcast, came up with a list of films that aren't the most well received, but we still thoroughly enjoy, and this is definitely up there on the list. Okay, so I was on the phone to Nathan and asked him what he thought of The World's End, but he refused to tell me on air, so I'm going to ask that question from the get-go. Nathan, what did you think about this movie?
The World's End. I hadn't seen this since it first came out, which I think was in like 2014, I think.
Wow, okay.
So it'd been quite a while for me. So I remember the first time I watched it, I liked it, but I think compared to the other two in the Three Flavors trilogy, I was just a bit, it was okay. It definitely wasn't the best. I still think Hot Fuzz is the best one in the trilogy. But that being said, I really enjoyed watching this. I had a really good time watching this last night.
I'm quite envious because you're in the position where you haven't seen this film for, how many years? When did you say was the last time you saw it?
About 7 years.
Bloody hell. So you're in the good position where the jokes are still going to feel very fresh, and you probably didn't remember a thing about it other than the fact that it's got aliens in it, right?
I remembered enough. I knew like the vague outline of the plot and everything like that, so I remembered enough. But yeah, all the jokes and all the little stuff like that, it was all pretty much brand new. So yeah, that was really good.
Fair enough. It's still, I think, better and more creative than most mainstream comedies that are coming out a decade later than it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It is incredibly, and this is due to, obviously, it's Edgar Wright, who's just an incredible filmmaker. And what he seems to do in these movies, particularly in the Three Flavors trilogy, is he will pretty much lay out the entire movie in like the first 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, he does that, doesn't he? Yeah.
Like he will tell you exactly what's going to happen within just like the opening scene alone. And it's great.
One of my that's a point that I wanted to mention. The Edgar Wright has got such a unique talent for opening movies. Like if you look back at Shaun of the Dead, it has the kind of the zombies bopping their heads, and it plays that little song. It's like more of like a little jingle, but he plays it on a loop, and it's really interesting for an opening for a zombie film. Hot Fuzz has the like ridiculously over the top Bad Boys-esque montage of Simon Pegg being like the best police officer in the entire service. And this film kind of goes in a similar vibe to Hot Fuzz, where they basically just show a very, very long montage of the best night of their lives as it's being narrated by Simon Pegg, which is great. Like I I really enjoyed that sequence in itself.
Well, they open it up with the night that was the night from the 80s or the 90s, I think, actually, of the Golden Mile, the pub crawl, and that's great. But again, it does that thing which Edgar Wright just somehow, I don't know how he does it, but the way he can just tell you exactly what's going to happen, and I think remember watching this movie like for the first time back 7 years ago, because I was familiar with Edgar Wright's style back then, I knew like this was going to go a certain way, like it was going to relate back to this. But even so, it was still so interesting to see, to essentially get to have Edgar Wright give you this roadmap of what was about to come, and that just makes it even more fun when you get to those moments later on in the movie, like when he's like Simon Pegg is talking about how Oman didn't make it that far, how he ended up on a bench or something, and they carried on with the rest of the night, and that's exactly when it happens throughout the movie as well.
One of the main things that I like kind of got me when Simon Pegg and the rest of the gang kind of get to their bed and breakfast wherever they're staying. She says, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And the first thing he says to her is, "We're here to get annihilated," which is ridiculous and so on the nose. And some of the shots that are in that the opening flashback sequence are perfectly recreated with their older selves. Later on in the movie.
Oh yeah, like where he does like the knock-a-door run thing as well.
Yeah, which is great. But I think, like I say, the opening was brilliant, but then obviously the opening is only the opening. You've kind of got to make the impression. And the thing that kind of I really enjoyed about this is the immediate hard cut from the ridiculously expository opening section was the complete hard cut to Gary in his AA meeting, and it kind of, you realise, oh yeah, obviously this is how this guy grew up, because he sounds like such a dick. And then you kind of go, it's that moment where he's completely content being who he is, and then the one guy says, oh, that must have kind of annoyed you. You didn't get to you didn't get to finish all the pubs. And then in that moment alone, you know, oh, so that's the plot of this movie. It sets it up so perfectly.
What I like about that moment is at first he just shrugs it off. It's like, no, why would I let it bother me? But then you just see it on his face. You just see that thought eating away at him. And you just see, like, in his head at that moment, he's fucking distraught because he realizes he needs to go back and finish it.
Yeah, and it's like he's built his entire, like, he's built his entire personality off of that one night. And then he realizes,
exactly.
In everyone else's eyes, it's incomplete.
Later on in the movie, he says it was the best night of his life. Like, it never got better than that night.
Oh god, he does as well, doesn't he? Yeah.
And the fact that he never finished it, obviously, that's eating away at him. So, one thing I wanted to bring up as well. So in these movies, in the Three Flavors movies, it's always been that Simon Pegg is the more straight-laced one, the more together one. And then Nick Frost is the more goofy comic relief sort of one.
I'm so glad you've said that.
That was switched here.
That's in my notes. Yeah. It literally reads, it was really nice this film made the choice to flip the dynamic between Nick and Simon, with Simon, for once, playing the useless idiot.
And it did it really well as well. Like, even though you'd seen them in other roles where they are reversed, essentially, they still managed to really pull off where, like you said, Gary King, he's an absolute dickhead. Yeah, he's clearly got problems. He's clearly got massive issues going on, but I wouldn't want to be friends with him at all. No. He seems like a terrible person.
And they set that up so nicely as well. Like, everyone, the one thing I really liked was, without fail, every single person he speaks to before he meets Andy's character, played by Nick Frost, says, is Andy coming? How did you get Andy there? And then when you figure out, I think it's about half an hour before the end of the movie, you finally figure out why Andy hates him, and has despised him and has ignored him for so many years. And you completely on his side.
You are because before that, there's a lot of moments in the movie where, I don't want to say Andy has been unnecessarily harsh to him, because he does fully deserve it. But there are just moments where you were just like, all right, come on, ease up a little bit, because he's just fully, like, angry with him from the beginning.
Going at him from the get-go,
Yeah. But then when you find out why, that really makes sense, though.
There's a moment where kind of every single time you start to feel sorry for Gary King, the film leaves you there. Edgar Wright makes a really, like, clever choice to leave you there just long enough that you go, oh man, but he's trying to get the gang back together. Like he's obviously got some issues, like you said. He just kind of wants to be with his mates again. And then every single time you have that moment, about 30 seconds later, Gary King himself just ruins it. Like he does another dickish thing.
I was going to say, because this movie usually is, well, in the Three Flavors, it is just Simon and Nick as the main two. But this one, it's a little bit different because there's 5 of them altogether. What did you think of the cast of the others?
I really liked it. So a couple of years back, it took me years and years after I'd first seen these movies to watch it. But a couple of years ago, it was only then that I figured out that the guy that plays Stephen is one of the Andys from Hot Fuzz.
He is.
I didn't know that. He's playing, to my credit, he's playing very different characters. So,
100%, yeah.
I really liked him, and I liked that they weren't just Simon Pegg's mates. Like when Gary King wasn't on the screen, they were having conversations, and you could see that they had their own dynamics, and they weren't. Whereas in like my issue with Shaun of the Dead, not that I have many issues with that film, is that everyone in there relates to Shaun, and they just have kind of exclusive relationships with Shaun or with someone very important to Shaun. Whereas in this movie, the characters feel extremely real, which is really hard to pull off in a comedy, especially for one that's kind of as quick and witty as this is. But the dialogue flows so well between them. So I really enjoyed the kind of inclusion of more characters.
Yeah, I did too. I think my favorite was Pete. I can't remember the name of the actor who plays him.
I know he's actually in another film. Another film I want to talk about is Filth, and he's in that. He's a brilliant actor. He's good.
Like the more like weedy, more innocent kind of one. Like at a certain point in the movie, you find out he's like really horrendously bullied by this one person back when he was in high school and everything like that. But I just love as the movie goes on, and as he gets more and more drunk, he just comes out of his shell more and more.
It's brilliant.
And there's one moment, I can't remember the exact line, but there's one moment where Gary King is talking about, I think it's something to do with having made out with a marmalade sandwich in the nightclub or something like that. I can't remember the exact line he says, but then Pete just goes, "Fuck yeah!" out of nowhere.
Oh yes, yeah. It's that. I think he's literally just spoken about having sex with one of those girls. And he's judging Gary in their own way, and then out of nowhere, he just outlandishly high fives him, which is great.
He does. He's a great character.
Also, he comes out of his shell more so when he essentially knows that this guy is a blank.
Yeah.
His bully that he encounters as a grown adult. He knows he's a blank, and essentially, I thought it was quite a moving moment. Where he essentially sacrifices himself just for the chance to beat the shit out of this guy, or at least someone that looks like him.
And that is a good moment.
Which was great, which I really enjoyed.
He's in Deadpool 2 as well.
Is he? Who does he play in Deadpool 2?
Yeah, he's the there's like that school where they torture the kid. He's the head teacher at that school.
Oh, Christ, yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah. Oh, God, I haven't seen Deadpool 2 in a long while. I need to.
Yeah, me neither.
I need to refresh my memory.
I think they're all in all of the Three Flavors movies as well. I know Martin Freeman certainly is.
Because he's in the very opening bit of Hot Fuzz, isn't he?
On the end, he's one of the police officers. And then he's in the other group in Shaun of the Dead as well.
Oh, like the mirrored group, that.
Yeah, he's the other Shaun.
Yeah,
yeah.
One thing I really, really liked about this movie, and it's there from the get-go, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's got the strongest story out of all of the Corneto trilogy, but I think it's got the best script. The amount of one-liners and little tiny excuses for jokes that are in this film throughout, there's pretty much one every 10 seconds.
It's so good.
It's so witty.
I wrote one of them down just because it made me laugh so much. It's towards the end of the movie when they're in the World's End, and Bill Nighy is the voice of the network. just Simon Pegg's line when he's just so drunk and they're just fed up of everything that's going on. He just shouts, "Oh, fuck off, you big lamp!"
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that. I actually considered writing that one down, but I did write another one down where it's Nick Frost's character. Everyone gets a pint, but he gets a pint of tap water. And then they're all sat at the table, and obviously Simon Pegg was annoyed by this, and he goes, "A man of your stature drinking fucking rain," which just got me. I genuinely think, right, the next thing I'm about to say is probably the best joke out of all three of those movies. Just I don't know why, it just gets me every single time. Where they said Gary's gone for a poo at the services, or Gary's gone for a piss at the services, and then Martin Freeman goes, "Yeah, well, if it is a piss," and then puts his finger to his nose like he's sniffing cocaine, and then Pete goes, "Poo," and it just, I don't know why it gets me, but every single time without fail it cracks me up.
I don't think I picked up on that. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's brilliant because obviously he goes to sniff, and everyone knows that that's kind of the universal symbol for someone's probably doing some cocaine. But yeah, and then Pete nods in understanding, gives it that perfect amount of time of comedic timing to pass, and then goes poo. And it's brilliant. It's so funny.
What did you think of Rosamund Pike as well?
You know what? Like, this movie, I kind of really. Obviously, I've grown to know her work as I've got older, and she's a very, very impressive actress. I'm surprised that she actually was in this, but she's brilliant. Like, she's really good. She's everything she needs to be, and I don't know why, but the little aspects of like giving her just something always to say, like every single scene I think she's in, she says "oh crumbs" at least once.
Oh crumbs, yeah, I loved that,
and it's brilliant. Yeah, so she plays it so well, and obviously, I think Edgar Wright knew when he was writing the character that she's not got much to do, so he needs to make the most out of her in every scene she's in, and it really shows. Like, was it the one line that she's got? She delivers perfectly. Where Gary King goes, "At least we've always got the disableds," though, speaking about their time when they had sex in a disabled toilet. And she kind of just nods and goes, "Yep, we've always got the disableds," and it's brilliant. I think overall, I genuinely think this movie, out of all three of them, is probably one of the wittiest and funniest for like laugh out loud jokes. Which is probably not a popular take, but
no, you might be right. I've not seen the other two in a while, and Hot Fuzz has always been my favourite, just because of the absurdity of it, and I do want to talk about that movie at some point. But like I said, I was quite surprised because I always thought of it as the lesser of the three. But yeah, had a really, really good time watching it last night. One thing I wanted to go through as well is I got a list here of the pub names.
Okay, right.
Because that's Edgar Wright. He's a clever man.
Yeah.
And we'll go through what these means.
Okay, yeah, please. I've always wanted to dissect this, but I never have.
So the first post, so I think that's just pretty obvious. It's the first one, the first stop that they go to.
Yep.
Would you agree?
I'd agree, yeah.
The second one is the Old Familiar. I think that's pretty obviously because it's the exact same interior as the first one.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a chain thing, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then the next one they go to is the famous cock.
Is that where he had sex with Rosamund Pike's character?
No, I think that's the Old Familiar.
Oh, okay. Well, so what's the old cock? Tell me.
The famous cock is the one where he doesn't get into because he was barred.
Oh, right. Yeah. I know the one. Oh, so
I think that might have some.
That might be it then. He could be the famous cock because that's the only bar they remember him at.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, famous cock. Yeah, and then he doesn't even get to do the drink, so he has to down some like half empties on the outside of it.
Oh yeah, they're just sat outside,
which is grim. The next one is the cross hands. And this is the one where they have the fight in the bathroom. Which, side note, is a fucking great fight.
Oh, it's brilliant, and mate, honestly, there's the moment that I love because that's the same bar where they reveal that his mum isn't actually dead, which obviously I knew, but come like thinking about it as a first time viewer, you've got no indication that that's bullshit up until that point. And Nick Frost like storms in. Simon Pegg's holding a decapitated young child in his hands.
Doesn't even notice.
Yeah, and he doesn't even notice it. He's just so filled with rage. That's brilliant.
It is great. Yeah. I think this one is more the pub sign, because the pub sign is like 5 hands all holding onto each other, against like a sort of tiled background. So I think that's like the teamwork of the fight.
Yeah, more than likely.
The next one, number 5, is the Good Companions. What happens there? Can't remember that one.
Number 5. Is that the one they have to go to? Because obviously they've just figured out what's going on, and now this is when they have to start pretending that they're just having a normal night out, right?
Oh yeah, so they have to just like sort of like try to. Oh yeah, so to try to sort of fit in.
Yeah.
So Good Companions.
By the way, that transition is the most perfect use of. I don't know the title of the song, but the song that says "Show me the way to the next whiskey bar" or something. I made a special point of listening to the lyrics in that, and it's basically saying that if they don't get where they need to go before someone sees them, they're in deep shit. It's really clever.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. And also the way they walk down the town, they're all like, bearing in mind we've seen them like jumping over fences and stuff this whole time, walking around the town, they're just cutting across grass. They're walking in perfect formation, all in time of each other's steps, which I really liked. It's just another moment where the visual comedy from Edgar Wright is just perfect.
Always is. The next one after that is The Trusty Servant, and this is the one where Gary meets up with that old drug dealer who's now sort of working for the network. So that one makes sense.
I like that. There's a moment when he meets, when he goes, "Oh, how are you going to know it's him?" And he goes, "We've got a very secretive signal that only he'd be able to pick up on." And he goes there, knocks in like a weird shifty way, and then just straight up says, "Have you got any drugs?" It's brilliant.
I like the next one. The next one is The Two-Headed Dog, and that's where they have the fight with the twins.
Oh, that's clever. I really like that.
Yeah, so that one makes sense.
Yeah.
The next one is The Mermaid. I think that's the marmalade sandwich thing.
That's the nightclub, isn't it?
The nightclub, yeah. So that one makes sense. The next one is The Beehive. That's the one where Pierce Brosnan is there. Beehive, I think that's sort of like a hive sort of thing, like a hive mind, maybe. I don't really know.
Oh, that could be right, because the was it they all immediately then come to Pierce Brosnan's defense, don't they? Because they they all kind of start turning their heads halfway through at the same time, realizing that it's not going to go the way they wanted it to go.
After that, it's the King's Head, and the King's Head, the sign of that is literally just Simon Pegg.
Is it?
In a wig. Yeah. Have you not seen it?
I don't
it's
recall
literally.
That.
Do you not?
No.
Oh, mate. Let me try and find a picture of it, because it was literally the spitting image of him.
Okay.
And that is the where as well. Like they are about to leave to just sack it off, but then he just says, "Nah, fuck that. He needs to do it. He needs to finish it."
Oh yeah.
So that's that one. Yeah, which is a good moment. I like that moment. The next one is The Hole in the Wall, and there's the one where Steve drives the beast through the
he just smashes through the window, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one, pretty self-explanatory, The World's End.
No, could you explain that one for me, mate? I'm not sure I get that one.
Yeah, so it's the one where the world comes to an end.
Ah, it all makes sense now. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, amazing.
This movie, upon rewatching it, I kind of forgot how emotional it can get.
All right, yeah,
and how like kind of serious some moments become. Obviously, at the end, they have their moment where they're speaking to the network, and it's all a bit of a joke. But before that, when it's just, I think it's the first time that Andy and Gary are alone in the whole movie, apart from when he's convincing him to come to the pub at the beginning. And it's the first time they have to really air out all their problems. And I love that scene. And also it kind of it links back to why Gary refused to show them the scar on his arm, because he's still wearing the AA tag that he's got, which I really, really liked. I think it was such like a well done moment. Yeah,
it was. There's the moment, just that entire sequence where like Nick Frost, his character Andy, he gets the chance to just leave, to just sack it off, and to go back home with Steve and just forget about it. But the fact that he actually goes after Gary and literally chases him through a crowd of fucking blanks, all towards that pub. That's just a great sequence. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's the because he has to go through quite a lot to get there.
It really does. Yeah.
What did you? Because obviously I know I spoke about the characters' inclusion. What did you think about the individual characters?
I really liked him, yeah, really did. Like I said, I really liked Pete. He was probably my favourite of the five, including Gary and Andy. Gary is not a likable character at all.
No.
he's just one of the worst people, and I would absolutely never want to be friends with him. That being said, I still enjoyed him. He's obviously funny and everything like that, and it was fun to watch it, but just not a likable character.
But I think that's one of the things that they tap into, though, isn't it? Because like everyone, they make a point of saying we were mates with Gary when this behaviour was normal. Yeah, and then he just never grew up, and now they're all kind of just trying to shake him off.
And I think they did like a really good job of like showing that he just never grew up, that he's still that exact same kid he was in high school. Because then, like when he goes to see Pete, he's like, "Oh, you shagged your wife," and everything like that. He's like, "Yeah, I got 2 kids." He's like, "Oh, twice."
Oh yeah,
fucker, or something like that.
Yeah, and he does that. He does that again with Rosamund Pike when she just straight up normally says, "I'm going to go to the loo," and he's like, "Well, that's obviously code for we need to go and have sex."
Yeah, exactly. And then Martin Freeman, who I like because he's just Martin Freeman. He's just, I don't know, there's just something about the way Martin Freeman acts, just that, I don't know how to explain it, but just that sort of tone and just overall demeanour he's has.
Always, every single one of his characters, without fail, is sarcastic.
Oh, well, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, he could be playing the most straight-laced kind of person, but there'll be a sarcastic quip in there, because it's Martin Freeman. And, like, you can't fault it. Martin Freeman does it so well. I think people like Michael Caine just play themselves in pretty much every role. But if they do a good job, they do a good job. And he's funny. He's very, like... I like that they've made an effort to make him really chatty in this, because he's the estate agent character. And they even say, like, he's got the gift of the gab, basically. But yeah, no, I liked his performance. To be fair, I thought all of them were very, very good.
They were all good, yeah. I think Steve was probably my least favourite of the group. Nothing on him, just out of all the characters, he just stood out to me the least.
So at the end of this movie, it's a very I didn't see it ending this way. But obviously when you look back at it, it's kind of the only way it could have ended if they were to kind of beat this alien invasion. What did you think about the whole post-apocalyptic ending?
It was very strange. I wouldn't know if I'd say it's the only way it could have ended. I'm not sure that's the case. But it's definitely an interesting way to end it. It's like because the network, they were, like they mentioned, they had taken over like various points all over the world. And obviously without them doing that, the world just went to shit. Like there was no one to hold up society and everything like that. And then the Pulse obviously wiped out electronics or whatever. So yeah, there was in this kind of post-apocalyptic sort of Mad Max world type of thing. And it was quite unexpected.
It's a bit out of left field, the ending, I think.
It really is, yeah. When you compare it to the rest of the movie, it's very much out of field. But I think what I liked the most about that was throughout the entire movie, like I was just saying, Gary has been extremely unlikable. He's someone who has not grown at all. He doesn't learn from anything he does. He's just a terrible person who is essentially only thinking about himself for the majority of the movie. And what I like about it at the end is that there is actually some growth with him. You can see that he now seems to be sober because he orders a tap water.
He defies the whole blanks can't come in, because obviously as the world goes on, there's obviously this kind of divide in kind of segregation between blanks and humans.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that he's just sort of traveling the world or whatever with his friends from high school with the blanks, and they're just like fucking shit up and kicking the shit out of racists.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I mean,
man.
yeah, don't get me wrong, definitely probably like the best possible outcome for his character, because at the end, if he was, that's the only way I can see him staying sober in this kind of post-apocalyptic thing. Like, I wouldn't have bought it if the world was just as it was and he just suddenly decided to clean up his act. Because he's like, at the start of the movie, he even said like, "Oh, I tried to do that, it didn't work." So yeah, no, I like it. I like the I don't know why the image of Martin Freeman with half a football on his head just cracks me up. I don't know why that would be better than weird. Having no face.
Well, at least it's something. At least you're not just looking at the inside of a man's head.
It's true. Someone throws a coin in his head or something, don't they?
Yeah,
when he's walking past, and it just kind of rattles around him.
Yeah. When it comes to that scene in The World's End, with the show, not necessarily a showdown, but just the moment between the network and Gary, what I love is that the network is defeated by just classic, stubborn British annoyingness. And that's literally it.
'Cause it was like, when I first was watching this movie years and years ago, I thought it was kind of like, oh, they're just going to say no. But upon watching it, and I only picked up on this recent one while watching it today, they mistake for a good while until the network corrects himself. They mistake Gary King as being the king of the human race.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
which is quite hilarious. Because that's like the last person you'd want to represent the whole planet. But yeah, it gets to the point where he's talking and then they just start going making noises, just to fucking piss him off, presumably, which I thought was great.
I just love the way Bill Nye, like, his voice just goes, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
they just leave.
Yeah, he just realizes how pointless it all is.
Yeah.
What were some of your favourite moments? Because obviously this is a comedy. There's a lot of moments that would probably crack you up, and a lot, maybe just emotional moments that you really appreciated throughout the film. But I'm quite interested to hear some of your favourites.
One moment I did like, it's not really a favourite moment or anything like that, just one moment where I just kind of looked up and went, oh, I know him. Fucking Jim from Friday Night Dinner was one of the barmen.
Oh, I wrote down about that interaction. I loved it. And he reads, what he says to them is exactly what Gary King orders in the first pub.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and in the previous scene, they've said how much they can retain selective things.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just hilarious, and is such a good way of doing it.
That is a great moment. Yeah. But another one which I really liked is I guess like the cricket club moment where they're hiding out from all the blanks because they're still looking for them, and at this point it's just Gary, Andy, and Steve. No, Pete's there as well. And then they have to like show each other that they don't have any scars or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
And there's just a moment where Pete pulls up his leg because he got run over by Gary. But he pulls up the wrong trouser leg, and Andy just goes, "What the fuck?" Oh
yeah, yeah. And he goes, "Oh yes, wrong leg." Another thing worth mentioning in that scene: every single wound that they mention, even because I know Andy has two. He's got the one that was in the car crash. And then he also has the one on his finger. Every single wound that they're mentioned is inflicted by Gary.
Yeah, I know. That's a really good
which is just another brilliant character building thing. Any other moments you liked at all?
Same scene, but the moment where Gary's talking about he knows that on the beam above Andy's head is the word Gary King carved into it, but Andy's just like, doesn't say Gary King, it says Gay King, and then Steve's like, yeah, I did that.
Oh yeah. Just it's such a stupid joke, but it's probably something that you definitely do. Yeah.
It's such a stupid juvenile joke. But like as a school kid, you would absolutely do that.
No, I like that.
What about you?
So I've got a few. I'll go down my list because so one of them that I absolutely love, where they are speaking about what they got taught in their English class once upon a time. And I don't know. To this day, I genuinely think it's the exact same shot that Edgar Wright's just played twice for comedic effect. But if it is a different take, then he says the line the exact same way, and that's the kind of purpose of the joke. When he goes, "Oh, what when we were doing A Winter's Tale," and Gary King goes, "Yeah, what was it called?" And it just immediately cuts back to him going, "A Winter's Tale," which I loved.
Oh, there's a few moments like that. There's one that I really like is I think where they're talking about selective memory, and then Gary goes, "Oh yeah, you were saying someone else has selective memory, me."
Oh yeah. Another highlight for me is the WTF. What the fuck is WTF? Yeah. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
It's just brilliant writing. It's just such a clever way of telling that moment.
That is a great moment. Yeah.
Another big highlight, Andy ripping. So traditionally, there's a moment in an action movie where like someone would rip their shirt off on purpose, especially in the old cheesy ones. In this one, Andy rips the buttons of his cardigan. And screams, "I fucking hate this town!" before he starts trying to beat everyone up, which I loved.
He does that in the opening montage though, in like the exact same pub at the exact same time.
Does he? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, the younger version of him does the exact same thing. Yeah.
Oh my god! So it's more of the recreating of the shots, which is great.
Yeah.
What else have I put here? I've just wrote down on my notes as exactly as I'm going to read it out. Edgar Wright loves people jumping through small windows, which is true. He does it in Scott Pilgrim as well. I think it's also in Hot Fuzz in the pub shootout.
It is, yeah.
Which is great.
Edgar Wright also loves, although maybe it's more of a staple of the Three Flavors trilogy, but the fence joke.
Oh, the fence joke, yeah. You can't not do the fence joke.
The fence joke is always in there.
Yeah, which is great. I wrote down something. It's not necessarily a favourite moment, but it's just something that I quite liked. In a very upbeat, fun alien invasion, everyone starts off with a problem. Like for example, Pete's been bullied. Stephen loves Sam, but hasn't told her. What's his name? Oliver. Actually, I was saying that Oliver doesn't really have many problems running through. Andy's lost his wife, and Gary's obviously a raging alcoholic. And by the end of it, every single person's problem has solved. Everyone gets the perfect ending, despite the fact that the rest of the world goes to shit, which is great. Which I love that kind of the continuation of the kind of selfishness of all of those characters. Really, was brilliant.
Yeah. I never noticed that. Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Interesting. Look at you little movie buff.
Oh, check me out, mate.
Yeah, so wrap this up here. So any final thoughts on this movie?
I would say don't discredit the movie just because it's not as well regarded as Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz in particular. It's very important to remember these movies are crafted so creatively and brilliantly. And every single one of them is something different. And this one is, like I said at the beginning, is probably 10 times more creative and funny than 90% of the comedies that big studios are putting out today.
100%. I just echo that and say also as well, it's a trilogy in name only. It's a trilogy only because it's made and starring the same people. That's literally it. They don't connect. So don't feel like you have to compare them too much, I would say. Because they're just great individual movies on their own. And this as well. You don't have to compare it to the other two. It doesn't have to hold up. It can just be enjoyed as a great standalone movie, because that's exactly what it is, really.
I think that's it. Yeah, if this, yeah, like you're saying, if this movie didn't come out as part of a trilogy, people would just say it's another one of Edgar Wright's brilliant classics.
Yeah, exactly, and it absolutely is. It's a great movie. So yeah, definitely recommend that anyone check it out if for some fucking reason you haven't and you're listening to this.
Of which the margin for that is probably very small.
Very tiny.
Well, so let's say, how happy of a pod was this for you?
This was a very happy pod for me. Yeah, like I said, it had been a while since I first saw it, so it was essentially like seeing it again for the most part. So yeah, had a really good time watching it, and yeah, like I said, I would just recommend it to anyone. So yeah, really good.
Well, since you didn't ask, for me,
oh sorry. How happy of a pod was this movie for you?
This was a laugh out loud pod for me. I really enjoyed everything about this. I think this is the funniest one out of the trilogy, and even if you're not comparing it to the trilogy, it's just hilarious. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. There's not a single 10-second time frame that passes without me getting another laugh from this film. So it's a really good time.
Absolutely, I would absolutely echo that. All right, so that was The World's End. That's another one all done. If you like this, let us know. Leave a comment somewhere. Let us know what you thought of the movie. Let us know how happy of a pod it was for you. Whatever the fuck that means. We still don't know yet ourselves. We're still figuring this out. But yeah, let us know what you thought, and then I guess we'll see you in the next one.